It's Big Ten Championship Week on the Buckeye Breakdown podcast here on the Buckeyes Roundtable YouTube channel. Anthony Moeglin here alongside my partner, Kevin Woidke. And Kevin, lots of cleanup to get to, man, from what was an awesome weekend of the Buckeyes taking down the Michigan Wolverines. Everyone's still soaring on that high that was this past weekend. And I'm just going to cut to the chase, man. How's it been the last couple days as we as fans at least get to continue to bask in that win for at least maybe one more day before we totally turn the page? But man, that win in Ann Arbor was pretty damn good on Saturday.
No, it was awesome. I've been consuming a bunch of content completely counter to what I've done for the last 4 years. Like Coach Day was on the Bussin' with the Boys today. He was talking about it. That thumbnail for the video shows everything. Like there's one guy that looks amped and hyped. Yeah, there it is again. It's Bo Atkins in the middle. He hasn't been through this yet. Then you look around the other ones, and they're on a mission. They look locked in. They look pissed off. They look ready to fight anybody and everybody in front of them. That goes for Coach Day, Roy Hall to his left. Even the police officers look pissed. That just shows, like, not saying Bo doesn't get it. I just think that you see the pain and you see the focus in those other guys' eyes that were there last year. Because usually at the front of that line are the older guys, the guys that have been there for a while, that have played a lot. Those guys are near the front. And that showed you right there, like, oh, okay. And I heard it on Stanford. Steve said it where he's talking about the tunnel because game day shut down at noon for their game, and Big Noon did like 14 extra minutes before the game started. So he was standing in the tunnel and he heard this like primal, like loud banging, everything. And it was the Wolverines coming out, Team North, and they were like Anthrago, and then he's like, then all we heard was music and then just click and clatter of cleats. And it was Ohio State coming out second. And he's like, oh boy, this is going to be nuts. And that's just what it was. It seemed like everybody keeps saying it. They seem fake tough. They seemed like the little brother that, and I'm not calling him little brother. I'm just saying let's just call it from 2000 on. Yeah. We've won over 2/3 of the games. Mm-hmm. And this looked like when you are the little brother or the little cousin or the younger sibling, and you get a few over on the older, whether it be in Madden, NCAA, whatever it is, and then they lock back in, and they're in their own head trying to beat you, and then they're like, they take a deep breath, they maybe go outside, grab a pop, come back in, and then it's game over. And they bury you, and they do everything they can to make sure you know who's in charge and who the best is, and that's what the Buckeyes did this week.
Yeah, it was. I think that there's so much that as you're looking back on it, you take a lot of those small little details in, and I think back to exactly what you said about what Stanford Steve said, and I saw just one clip of the Bussin' with the Boys interview. I haven't got to watch the whole thing yet, but it was Coach Day talking about, because Luan asked him like, hey, what was your feelings when Michigan goes down, scores, and then Julian's second pass is intercepted. And Taylor was like, you had to be like, oh shit. And Dave was like, yeah, of course. I was like, oh, here we go again. But then he said, we just were so well prepared. And they had a certain level of confidence. And then, Kevin, that goes to what you just said of, they came out of the locker room, men on mission, right? Like, hey, we've gotten hyped in the past before, and maybe we've done, a little too much, of that, like getting into the pomp and circumstance of the game and not really staying focused on, the task at hand. And you could see this group, that was everything about Saturday was locked in. It was maybe a slow start, and then they just continue to grind through it, and then they hit a big play, and then the defense kind of kept this team, kept the offense afloat as they were figuring it out early on, and then the offense broke through, and then they had a couple big plays, and then you had the 50-yarder to Carnell Tate, and then it was Michigan just kind of being tapped out at that point. Kevin, one of the situations that we didn't talk enough about on Saturday after the game was the 20-minute, 89-yard, or 20-play, 89-yard, 11-minute drive that the Buckeyes went on in that fourth quarter. Because there was so much other stuff that happened. I didn't even realize it happened. I was getting set up for post-game stuff, and I didn't realize that I figured they had gone on 2 drives, and it turned out to be just one of them. Kevin, that was a mauling, dude. That was an absolute, but that was an ass kicking. And it was just play after play after play after play of Ohio State just physically dominating the Wolverines. And that was like exclamation point on, hey, we're back. We're back in charge of this thing, and this rivalry's back in the right hands.
I mean, that's it. So, like, when I reference it back to this, but like when I can think vividly of when I played my buddy's little brothers in Madden when we were in high school, and they, I got the Raiders and they got the Tennessee Titans, and then it was just Derrick Henry running the ball down my throat for an entire game, and then that's just what it was. They got up, and then they're like, "Okay, watch this. Here is our big back that everyone's been dogging, including Brendan, all year." And he's not needed for – don't get me started on where he is. I heard he was in Boca Raton hanging out at Florida Atlantic. But so, like, we got this big back from West Virginia that's a monster. And we're like, okay, how do we really punish these guys and make them regret ever choosing to go to school at this place? We're going to throw our skinnier, faster Beanie Wells back there and – just run it, or not, Carlos Hyde, and just run through your face every single play. And that's just what they did. And, like, when I do that, man, like, they beat me, they're talking all this S, and then I'm like, okay, let's play again. Then I get the Browns and have Nick Chubb and run it through their face for the don't pass the ball once. That's what that drive was, hey, we're going to run it all the way down. It doesn't matter if we score. We just burn 10 minutes of game time, and then we're going to kick a field goal at the end to put this game out of reach. No, like, I mean, I got Nick Chubb, and then I just ran the ball for the entire game, and then that's what they did on that drive. They didn't care if they scored a touchdown. They obviously wanted to, but they run it down your throat for 89 yards, 81 yards, whatever it was, and then kick a field goal and say, all right, now do something. And that something they decided to do was throw an immediate interception to Davison Igbinosa, who rips off his helmet in exactly what I expected fashion and just dances on their grave.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. And that was exactly, I think you described it perfectly. It was like, hey, big brother coming back to life, because, in the 2000s era, Ohio State's now 18-7 in this rivalry. They have, largely dominated it, but they finally put that end to what was a 4-year stretch of Michigan having kind of the upper hand. And it was pretty cool. It was just good to see, everything Ryan Day said after the game has been pretty cool. They've handled it as first class as you possibly could. And it sets up for what everyone's expecting this week to be a really fun week for the Buckeyes, because they take care of their rival. And then they got what's largely considered, not largely, it's the number 2 team in the country, and deservingly so. And we'll get into the Hoosiers there in a little bit. But Kevin, the other headline, the other storyline that is kind of sweeping college football right now is obviously Lane Kiffin, right? It's been pretty crazy about the whole Lane Kiffin story. But what I think the bigger thing is that this coaching cycle it sucks, because you look at John Summerall, the Tulane coach who gets hired at Florida, and he has to leave Tulane, who's going to make the playoff. You look at Ole Miss, who or might make the playoff. You look at Ole Miss with Lane, they're a number 5 team in the country. They're obviously going to make the playoff, but they're losing all their guys. They've lost all their staff. All that stuff is shaking out. You're looking at Penn State, who doesn't have any idea, it feels like, or that maybe they do have an idea of like what's going to happen. But this timing, dude, it just sucks, man. It sucks for, like, Summerall's the one to me that's like, damn it, he's got Tulane in the playoff, and now he's the head coach at Florida, and it just makes him, just piss away what's been an amazing year for the Green Wave. But that one to me it really just summarizes exactly what's bad about the coaching carousel part of college football the way it is right now.
Yeah, you look at these teams that are just out of it. They're fully out of it. There's no point for them to even care at this point. UCLA, for instance, they took the JMU coach. Like, there's another one where it's like, this guy's fighting for a potential playoff spot, which we'll see what happens there. But, it just sucks. That's just how it is. And I understand the rationale behind why they do it. They want their guys in there for National Signing Day. They want their guys in there for the first open transfer portal to get the people they need. And I get why schools like Ole Miss and Tulane tell them to kick rocks, like, get out, because you don't want them – think about it. You leave – I get – my sister brought this up actually yesterday where it's like, think about it. You leave Lane Kiffin there to coach Ole Miss. Any of your underclassmen are going to be transferring to LSU the first chance they get once they hit that second portal window. So it's like, it's just hard how they choose to do it. I get from a business standpoint, this is how they have to do it. Mm-hmm. But the flip side is, and this is what I'm nervous about, Penn State not having a coach worries me. And that's where I'm like, are they really going to go after – I could see them going after the Indiana OC. I could see them going after Hartline. I could see them trying to weaken somebody else in the Big Ten to gain favor on themselves. But, that's the hard part of, hey, don't go try to rebuild this program.
Yeah. And
that's what they did with they paid – who was it? Was it Knowles last year? They gave him a huge raise so he'd stick around. That's maybe what they'll have to do to Hartline. But that's the hard part about this. I'm hoping Indiana or somebody else goes to Penn State because I don't want to lose Brian Hartline yet.
Yeah.
But that's just how that's just how it shakes out.
It's just tough because, the way that the schedule lays out, just the college football schedule in general, it actually is impossible. You have to do this right now. And these coaches have to go right now because, let's say you're Ole Miss and you tear through they let Lane Kiffin stay and they tear through the college football playoff. And let's say they find themselves in a national championship game. Well, that is at the end of January, right? And you've lost now 2.5 or a month and a half of, initial program building, getting players to flip, getting recruits in. And that's valuable time because guess what? We experienced it last year. Spring ball is 6 weeks after the national championship game, which is insane. But you have to have a team, you have to have a team fielded by then. And it's just really tough. It's a challenging thing. They have to change the schedule. They just have to, because I don't feel bad for Lane Kiffin. I do feel bad for Summerall, and I feel bad for some of these guys that have built these programs up, because guess what? You're not going to go hire. You're not going to go poach a team, a coach from a small school that doesn't make the playoff, but you will poach the coaches that show success and show that they can build stuff and build programs. And those are the guys that kind of get left out to dry, which is unfortunate, but it just further emphasizes and further underscores the fact that they have to change the schedule because these guys get caught in the wash, and it is pretty tough. Now, Kev, the one thing that you brought up was the Brian Hartline part of this conversation and the Penn State part of this conversation. If they don't have Hartline, dude, they are in massive trouble, because I just saw their recruiting class, their ranking. They're ranked 129th for this year's recruiting class, below Harvard. They're below Harvard in their recruiting class. This could be detrimental, Kevin. This year, this section, obviously with transfer portal and stuff, that can change a little bit, but this could be detrimental for the foundation of Penn State if it continues the way that it's kind of looking right now.
Yeah, the odds for the next Penn State coach, highest odds is actually Jeff Brom from Purdue.
Yeah.
Followed by their current interim. BYU's head coach, Kalani Sitake, and then Dable, who's now available.
Yeah.
And I don't even know who Terry Smith is. But there's another one.
But Kev, like to your point, those 4 names, none of them really jump off the page at you. And as of our recording, as I was coming home from work, Sataki is in the rumor is Thamel just tweeted it out about an hour ago as we're recording that that BYU's trying to give finalize an extension for him. Which I will say this, Kevin, one of the positives of this, like of the NIL era, is like Clark Lee signs an extension with Vanderbilt, and some of these smaller schools that in the past are jumping immediately, right? These guys being able to sign because NIL is allowing them to get better players, and they can actually get paid, that top dollar. I think that's really good and really healthy for the sport, that some of these other teams aren't going to just fall by the wayside because a bigger program opens up.
Well, yeah, I actually, the one that jumps off the page to me is Jeff Brown. Like that could be a great fit for Penn State. Not as good as Fitzpatrick, but I think that'd be a really good fit, who's now going to Michigan State, which I think is a huge win for Michigan State. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why Sataki would come to Penn State. That one always rattled me because I'm looking at it like, hey, he has a cultural connection to a lot of the recruits BYU has, as well as like a geographical connection to him. Whereas if he comes out to Penn State, you're going to be hard-pressed to convince a bunch of people from where he's comfortable and successful at recruiting to then come out to Happy Valley, if that makes sense. I'm not saying he can't do it. Yeah. If I'm him, I'm trying to get that extension. The only small school I saw reload like that was JMU, who had Signetti leave and then had what is his name? It's Brian something. I'm sorry, Bob Chesney, who came from Holy Name, and JMU was right back there. He coached for 2 years. Now he's on his way to UCLA. And that's what's hard about being at a smaller school, where it's like the smaller Power 4 or 5 schools, Power 4 really, they're fine. It's the group of 5 where they're instantly gone. Though they're jumping like the Purdues of the world, the Indianas of the world, the Vanderbilts of the world used to. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what it is. Like schools that you don't really see a lot. Like I'm surprised PJ Fleck, granted, it's Fleck. He didn't do much in Minnesota, but he didn't really jump anywhere else, which I don't see Minnesota as really a big-time football school. They're kind of playing in a different – the rest of the Big Ten plays in a different division than most of it. But it's just hard. Like that's just the reality of it. Like you saw a BYU. You saw a Texas Tech jumping at a SEC offer versus now it's like, oh, we're going to sign an extension and stay here because they know like – and the individual – like coaches are confident that, hey, we can get this done. Yeah. We fund it. It doesn't matter. We know how to coach. Whereas it used to be, hey, you need to go to this place to get the recruits, bring them in. Now you can pay any recruit to go anywhere. Like I just saw some 5-star just flipped to Vandy.
Yep, their quarterback. And that's been the rumor of the day of like, is it true? Is it not? He's come out and said it's not quite true yet, but as it is, where there's smoke, Kevin, there's fire. And I was going to say that exact example of, hey, Clark Lee signs extension. He's going to stay at Vandy, and 3 days later, whatever it is, they flip a 5-star quarterback, and that is exciting for the health and growth of just college football in general. As we get through these growing pains of the NIL era, all of these teams underneath Ohio State are leveling out, and hopefully that creates some longevity and some sustainability within college football, because we were getting to a point there, at least at the end of the BCS era, into the 4-team college football playoff, where it was like before NIL, it was like going to be the same 8 teams or 6 teams or whatever it was for the rest of the time. And this, I think, is going to start to level out. Certainly not perfect, and certainly room to continue to get better, but definitely a better thing for these programs. So, Kevin, all right, we're going to steer this thing back to Ohio State, because this is a big week. It's a big week for the Buckeyes. They got 3 goals coming into every year: beat the team up north, win the Big Ten championship, and go to the playoff, and, well, I guess 4, win the national championship. In that, they check box number 1. Box number 2 is on deck. You are a well-seasoned player in the Big Ten championship game. You played in 3 or 4?
played in 3. So my first 2 years, we lost that terrible game to Michigan State where we didn't run Zeke, and they went. And then the second year, we lost on the field goal to Penn State.
Yeah.
And we didn't go. But then the next 3 years, we went and won Wisconsin, Northwestern, Wisconsin.
Was the second Wisconsin game the 59-0 game, and then
no, that was in 14. That was 2014. The second Wisconsin game, we were either tied or down at half, and we had to kind of come back a little bit, but we never really had anything in jeopardy.
What's kind of, and I know it's different now. I wrote about this over on Roundtable that the kind of the vibe of the championship games is a little bit lower, and in my opinion, they got about 2 or 3 more years left of shelf life because they are largely like this game is going to prove that these are largely just like doesn't matter games anymore because these are 2 of the best teams in the country and they're going to play each other and hopefully nobody gets injured or anything because it's kind of meaningless this game. But what's the vibe like going into the Big Ten championship game, at least in your experience? What was the approach during the week? How was it handled coaching staff-wise, player-wise? What was kind of your mindset and your experience when you got to play in these games back in your playing days?
Well, when we got to play in these games, if you didn't win the Big Ten, you didn't get a ring at the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's how Coach Blair ran the program. You had to win your conference to get a ring. So when we won the Fiesta Bowl, we didn't get a ring. When we won the Cotton Bowl, no. When we won the Cotton Bowl, we got one because that was the first big. But, like, we went to the Fiesta Bowl and lost to Clemson the second year. We weren't going to get one anyway. You don't get a bowl for winning a ring without a Big Ten championship. That's how Urban Meyer did it, assuming that's how Coach Day does it, because that's just not the standard Ohio State has. Mm-hmm. And that was our mentality going into it was, hey, we run this conference. We need to show everybody that we do. And back when we were playing then in those Big Ten championships, it was the only way we'd get in the playoff was winning it. So
that's
that was
part
our
of it.
added motivation. And I saw Coach Day talking about it on that podcast. I watched a little bit more than you did of the Bus with the Boys thing. But he made a comment where he's like, yeah, I could see how you do it that way. But one, they're competitive. And two, like, it's one of their goals. And these guys are motivated to do it. They want that 1 seed. They should have gone wire to wire as number 1. These stupid AP people that don't know ass from sidewalk, it is insane. Like, I don't understand why they were like, oh, well, Texas is obviously 1 because Peyton and Eli Manning have 4 Super Bowls between the 2 of them, and so their nephew has to be elite. Then 2 was Penn State because, they're returning Drew Aller, and, they're, Franklin's finally got it together. Who's not returning? Their 2 best players on both sides of the ball. Like, that's just stupid. And these stupid AP, like, I lost so much respect for the AP poll when there's people that are getting interviewed that are like, yeah, I just kind of like the chaos. Doesn't matter who I vote for. I didn't watch this week. I'm like, why are we putting any weight in this stupid concept? Like, I get that the committee has other stuff going on because they got lawyers and private equity and stupid people on the committee, but why are those not really paid attention to? And that's the other thing. The the AP and the coach poll immediately go out the stupid window.
Out the window.
No one pays attention after the CFP comes out because they're like, who cares about these other ones?
Yes.
When it was BCS bowls and it was just an arbitrary reason of who they're going to pick to be 1 and 2, it was more important. But, like, that's where I just think they're so dumb. And Ohio State was clearly the best team in the country week 1, 2, 3, week 75. They're going to be the best team in the country. And it's just a matter of showing it and showing that you're the best team in the country every week because there's nobody else. Like, Taylor Lewan said it. He's like, every team in the country, every good team, they finish a game and there's questions being. They usually finish a game with more questions than answers being asked. Ohio State has only answered questions with every turn. Like, is their defense going to give up a touchdown? Is their defense going to give up more than 14 points? No. Like, it's just answers. It's all answers. It's not really questions. It's not I don't know. It's all definitive answers. And that's what they want to prove is, like, the minute nobody – I don't know if there's – I think there probably has been one team. But since the CFP came out, I don't know if a team has gone ticker to ticker week 1 to winning the championship is number 1.
No, I don't think so. And I think to your point about the AP, like they gotta like I don't know the right way to do this because you can't start the rankings until week 2. Like that's just kind of what it has to be. Like you have to have at least like a little bit of, like, hey, these are the good teams, these aren't. But I mean, I saw a stat today that 12 of the 25 teams ranked in the first AP rankings are not in the top 25 now because it's just storylines, right? It is just offseason, right? What were the offseason storylines for Ohio State? You're losing 15 starters. You have to replace an entire defense. You have to replace your quarterback. You have to replace all your running backs. You got to replace all these things. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman. Yes, you're bringing back Caleb Downs. Everybody knows about him. Not everybody knew about Sonny Styles. Not everybody knew about Arvell Reese. You brought back Davis Igbenogson, but his storyline was, hey, he's going to hold everybody. There's so many question marks. What was the storylines around Penn State? Everybody's back. They're redoing Ohio State's philosophy to go win the national championship. Didn't work out. What was Texas's storylines? Hey, they brought back their entire defense. Then they have Arch Manning, right? Manning brother, Manning family, right? All of those things. It's all just a storylines thing. And then you come out on the field, you kick the ball off, and Ohio State wins, and boom, they're back to number 1 right away. And you're like, all right, here we go. I don't know what the right answer is in terms of those rankings, but you're right. I think that from their perspective, winning the Big Ten championship is huge, right? Showing that you are the leader of that conference is the number one thing. Now, this is the first time that that the conference championship game has been 1 versus 2. It makes sense, right? There's 18 teams in the Big Ten, right? When you played, there was 11. Before that, there was 10. You had to play everybody during the year, and all these teams would play each other, so there would be a loss somewhere. Now you get 1 versus 2. Both these teams are going to be have a bye week in the first round of the playoff. They're both proven to be head and shoulders above the rest of college football. I think Ohio State's head and shoulders above Indiana, but we're obviously going to find that out on the field. But I do think, Kevin, it is pretty cool that they're going to be locked in. They're going to be ready for it because they're going to need to be. Indiana is going to come into this game. It's a damn good football team, right? Like this isn't anything we've seen in the past, right? This is the first game all year where somebody's going to come out and be on the other sidelines that's in Ohio State's tier. They might be the only team that can say they're on Ohio State's level, but offensively, defensively, they are up there. Stats prove it, but go ahead. Go right ahead.
I think I said at the beginning of the year, I think Georgia is also on that level. Yeah. I think Georgia lost to a good Alabama team. I don't think Alabama's that great, but they played well that night. It was it was the end of September is when they played. I think they played at Alabama, which is always hard to go into Bear Bryant Stadium or whatever the hell it's called. Is it called Saban something now? I don't know. But like that is the only other team. I mean, the top 4 is Texas A&M, which choked.
No, do you have the right rankings?
Yeah, week 13.
Are you looking at the CFP ones?
Yeah.
Okay, so the refresh ones after they lost haven't come out yet. So continue what you're going to say, but Texas A&M is going to be way down.
Texas A&M is because they deserve it. They shouldn't have beaten US or South Carolina. Yeah. I think Georgia. I don't think Texas Tech is anything special. I think Oregon can compete. I think they're a decent football team. Granted, they didn't look that great against Washington.
Right.
I think Ole Miss is going to be lost. Mm-hmm. Like it's Georgia, Indiana, and Ohio State at the top. I think that's really it. I think Notre Dame is a very good football team. I know I dog on them all the time. I think they're a good football team this year.
Do you think – all right, I'm going to stop you right there. Do you think they get in?
100%. They should. They should. I don't know why they wouldn't. I don't think Miami should get in.
Okay.
I don't care that Miami – here's the thing. I don't – like that's the thing. It's like everyone's like, oh, well, so then your argument, should Kent State or who had the Bowling Green have gotten in over Notre Dame last year?
Northern Iowa, but your point, yes.
Yeah, same thing. Like, what do we know? Like, Notre Dame had a stumble. I mean, who'd they play this year? I mean, who else did they lose? They lost to
A&M by 1, and they lost to Miami by 3 in Miami. And you know what that does, though, Kevin? That opens up, and Texas is going through this right now. this opens up the conversation, and Sark has already said it, and Alabama even pulled a non-conference game. This year will be the death of high leverage, big time non-conference football games. You're not going to see any of these big games anymore because, like, Texas is a good example. They indirectly are getting punished for losing to Ohio State in week 1. Like, they have 3 losses. Yes, one of them's to Florida, but one of them's also to Ohio State. And the other one was, who was their third? They beat Oklahoma? Did they lose to Georgia? They lost to Georgia, right?
Yeah, they lost to a very good Ohio State. This is what I mean. The committee's stupid. They lost to a very good Ohio State team by a score. They lost to a very good Georgia team by I don't know how much. And yes, they lost to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
That loss to Florida alone puts them at 10, 11, or 12.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have lost to Florida. They shouldn't.
Yeah.
If they're getting mad about they're not getting punished for losing to Ohio State.
That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Because if they had 2 losses, if they had 2 losses, they would be in the playoff. Yes or no?
If one of those losses was to this Florida team, no, they might be, but they're going to be in 10, 11, or 12, still competing against. But that's the thing is, they're currently at 18. They're currently at 16, and they just beat the undefeated 3. They're probably going to be in it anyway.
They're not going to be in. There's no way they get in because
they're going to bump Miami. They're absolutely going to bump Miami. 100%.
No shot. Yes. I like this. This is good because Kevin, that's like to your point though. Like, they just go and they beat number 3 Texas A&M. That's a massive win. If they had 2 losses and that win on their resume, yes, if they get in at 9, 10, or 11, they're in. But they have 3 losses. You cannot put them in over a 2-loss team. Although 2 of their losses are to top 5 teams in the top 4 teams, top 3 teams in the country. It's a fascinating conversation because there's no right answer.
Miami lost to Louisville and
SMU.
Okay, SMU, who's currently ranked 21st. Louisville this year is 5-1 in their conference.
Uh-huh.
That's what you got to look at the games they lost to. And it's, you know what the other thing? Louisville was at home.
Mm-hmm.
Texas lost at Ohio State. Texas lost
at Florida and at Georgia.
Exactly. Away games. They didn't lose a home game. They didn't lose a home game to a trash Louisville team. That's what I mean. Like, no offense, Louisville, they're having a great year, but like, it's Louisville. That's the same thing as saying Purdue's having a great year. It's Purdue. Like, let's call a spade here. Louisville's not a premier program.
Yeah.
Texas lost to premier programs. Texas lost to the number 1 unequivocal defense and scored arguably
like 2 months.
One of the better touchdowns or one of the better drives, and they played well, and it was a defensive battle. But that's what I mean. Like, I just think it's dumb. I hate Miami, and that's definitely putting a little bit in it. However, like, Texas,
but I think that
won a huge game, and the committee always does this. They value end of season rather than beginning of season.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter if you lose to Bowling Green or Northern Illinois at the beginning of the year, because you'll still be in at the end of the year if you look good from when these committee rankings come out.
Agreed.
That's just what it is. And that's why it's like, yes, I agree. You're going to see less and less out of conference big games. My flip side of that is, why not test yourself against those? Because if you win one of those big games, it bolsters you like Indiana, which is in conference.
Oh, I hate to do this to you, but it's not in your argument right now. It doesn't bolster Miami for playing Notre Dame, who was the number 3 team in the country when they played them, right? So it's like, why even do it? Because Texas is getting punished for it for losing to Ohio State, whereas Miami, it's just, dude, there's no right. There's legit.
Again, I don't think when the committee comes out and says it, I don't think they're going to say Texas is getting punished for being a 3-loss team. They're going to say Texas being punished for losing to a dog shit Florida.
I'm with you, but they also have 2 other losses. You can't say that they should be over Miami and then say Miami's win over Notre Dame doesn't pull the weight that it should because it happened at the beginning of the year. It's tough, dude.
Here's my argument. strength of schedule has always been talked about in this. Strength of schedule has been, since the day I started watching college football, talked about this. Strength of losses makes a point too. And it's the same thing in strength of schedule. Texas played a hard schedule, a lot of hard away games. Miami didn't. Yeah. Miami just, they just didn't. They played their top.
The ACC's garbage. The ACC's garbage. If they
the ACC's garbage, but they played Notre Dame and won on a field goal. Mm-hmm. They beat Bethune-Cookman and South Florida. Then they hosted Florida. Didn't have to go there. They went to Florida State and won by 6 points. Florida State. Take a breath. Think about that. Swallow it. Florida State. They beat Florida State by 6 points. Mm-hmm. Then they lose to Louisville. Then they beat Stanford, who's terrible. They lose to SMU. Then they beat Syracuse by 28. NC State, terrible. They beat Virginia Tech. And then they blow out Pittsburgh.
And Pitt was ranked 20th in the country.
They had a strong end of the season. I will give them that.
Yeah.
However, their end of the season is not as strong as Texas's, which is my argument of take those. Let's just take when the committee came out. I mean, we're looking at Texas's last 4 games of the year. They just beat by 10 points. Mm-hmm. Granted, it was at home, Texas A&M. Then they blew out Arkansas, putting up 52 points. They beat the 14 team in the country by 3 at home. And then they lost at Georgia, which I said at the beginning of the show is one of the 3 best teams in the country.
Mm-hmm. And I would say this to prove your point further. That was a 1-score game midway through the fourth quarter. I know it ended up being 3 scores, but it was close. It was close before.
And they let Vanderbilt back in. They were blowing Vanderbilt out of the water for most of that game. They had to go to overtime to beat Mississippi State. I'm not saying Texas is a premier team. I'm not saying Texas is the best team in the country. I'm just saying, if you are looking at it, who would I rather put in? I think Carson Beck is a joke. I think Miami is terrible. I take them all the way out. And I put Texas in because Texas has had to go through more high-end talent. Mm-hmm. They played, this year alone, they played the number 1 team in the country, the number 8 team in the country, the number 14 team in the country, number 4 team in the country, number 3 team in the country. Yeah. They have a win and 2 losses against the top 4 ranked teams in the country. Mm-hmm. The only team is they didn't play Indiana. Yeah. Like, that is what I mean of, like, you got to take into effect the losses. If you look at just win-loss, why is BYU sitting at 10-1 behind Oklahoma, Notre Dame, and Bama? Like, that's dumb because, it's about wins and losses. It's not about wins and losses. It's about who you beat and who you lose to at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Miami has beaten anyway. I'm not saying Miami should be out. I'm saying Texas should be ahead of them.
The moral of the story, I suppose, the way I see it is the fact that it's all subjective makes for great conversation, makes for great argument, but it sucks for the team that gets left out. Now, the positive is that we're arguing about team 13, 14, 15, and 16 as opposed to team 5, 6, 7, and 8, which was in the past. So I think that, I do think we'll see how it shakes out.
We're not arguing about 15. They're dead. They died.
They're 18th now. We gotta do the college football playoff rankings come out on Sunday this week, so they'll be updated to fit that. But regardless of it all, man, it will be a lot of fun. And this is all to say that Indiana is very good. This defense, we typically talk Ohio State offense and opponent defense on our first show of the week here. And the Hoosier defense is solid. They are the number 4 team in just total defense. They give up 250 yards a game compared to Ohio State's 203 yards a game, which I think is very funny. The difference between 1 and 4, I think, is the same as between 4 and 12, maybe. I wrote about it last night on Roundtable. But the 50-yard spread is so wild. It's so good how good Ohio State's defense is. But this is the number 1 and 2 scoring defenses in the country. Ohio State gives up 7.75 points a game. Indiana gives up just over 10 at 10.9 points per game. it's going to be a battle there. This is the best defense Ohio State's seen, Kevin, and they're going to have to be locked and loaded on Saturday night.
Yeah, they are, and that's just it. They're going to have to be professionals, which they
are, man.
Be. But that's kind of. I mean, this is a great test. This is the adversity they're talking about. This is, hey, let's see this Ohio State team. Everyone's been hyping them up all year. Like a Bama team used to be hyped up in the mid to late teens. Like, it's like that. This is like those Georgia teams in the early 2020s. Like, that's how people are talking about this. And this Indiana team is going to come in with no shortness of confidence. I mean, that's just what it is. This defense is, I mean, they're number 4. You said 4 in total yards, 2 against the run, 14 against the pass. They're giving up just shy of 80 yards and just shy of 173 in rushing and passing, respectively. And that's really, they have one guy on their team who is the heart and soul of this Indiana team. It's, oh boy, Relive Hardy. I think that's it.
Good enough for me. Hardy.
He's got 35 solo tackles, 77 total, and he leads the team in sacks at linebacker. Yeah. He is a 5'11", 225-pound sophomore out of Florida. He's one of the homegrown Indiana guys, one of the few homegrown Indiana guys, and he's stopping everything in front of him, which is incredible. He's a sophomore, which means they have one more year of him. This guy's going to go high in a draft. I mean, based on these numbers, he's playing incredible. And then the back half of the defense is led by Lewis Moore. Lewis Moore started for 2 years in Indiana. Cignetti comes in, he transfers out, goes to Ole Miss, decides to come back, and he's having a great year. 70 total tackles, which is, you'd think like, oh, DB has a lot of tackles. What? He's got 5 interceptions. Oh, I forgot to mention Hardy has a PBU as well. Like, this Moore guy has 5 interceptions. They're throwing at him, and he's making plays too. Thinking about, like, for every, 12. For every 14 tackles he has an interception as well. Like, that is insane to think about. Like, hey, that's tackle 13. There's 14. Okay, here comes a pick and clockwork. Like, and then obviously that's a little bit of joke, but like, that's an insane stat line.
Yeah. No, like, it's a guy you throw at, and you better throw with caution, right? And you're going to have some completions. You know, the tackle number is big. We talk about on this show all the time. When a DB is leading the team in tackles, not typically a good sign, but like you said, if he's going to give up catches, he's also going to go get the football, which is great. Another guy, Aiden Fisher in the middle. He's kind of that leader of the defense. He's that Sonny Styles type, where, you know, he makes sure they're lined up right. He's like he's that quarterback of the defense. But it will be fun, man, because you know, this is the biggest challenge that the Buckeyes have seen on the defensive side of the football this entire season. You know, you've had a couple, you know, or at least since August, right? The Texas defense was damn good. And this one's certainly on that same level. But it does sound like from the reports coming out of practice today and out of Columbus today that Jeremiah's feeling good, Carnell's feeling good, that Ohio State's, Ryan Day said that they're at a better spot today than they were at this time last week, which is a good sign for Ohio State, a bad sign for Indiana. But all things are pointed that direction. Kevin, the Buckeyes are coming off of what was one of their better offensive performances of the year. The offensive line, I thought, was spectacular. I thought it was their best performance of the season. Julian was great. The receivers were good. And the running game with Bo Jackson was awesome. What do you have to see, or what are you looking for from the Buckeyes this weekend against Indiana to show that they're continuing to get better, but they're ready for the playoff?
Yeah, I'd say consistency. I'd say show me that this wasn't an exception, but this is the new rule. Show me that this is what is expected and what we think will be the standard going forward. And that's where I think my key, from receivers down, especially the running game. Like, let's lean on teams like we did this past week, where we get a lead and then we just run our massive beast of a running back out there to just make everybody regret trying to tackle somebody on a football field. Like, that's just what it is. Have our linemen go out there and run people's days. I think it was Carnell Tate on that first Bo Jackson run who just threw the guy out the club. I don't know if it was Tate or if it was I think it was Tate. I don't know. But
Tate or Ennis, probably.
It might have been Ennis. But, like, just launched them out of bounds. They were flopping like crazy. Those guys were fake tough guys this past week. But that is what I want to see. And you see it all year where these receivers take pride in the blocking that goes along with it. Like, hey, I don't want to score a lot of touchdowns, but I only get these touchdowns if we have to make them commit safeties to the run game, which is what they're doing.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be fun to see. For me, I'm going to watch the offensive line. Can they continue to protect Julian the way that they have? I just kind of rewatching the game, just very little, seeing some of the highlight plays. That gets lost in all of the big stuff. That gets lost in the nice completions and the touchdowns. Is that Julian didn't have anybody within arm's length of him all day long. He got hit one time. He got sacked 0 times. His jersey, I saw a funny picture online. It was the post-game interview, and his jersey was like perfectly clean. It was like not even ruffled a little bit, and that's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way you want your quarterbacks to look after a game. So I'm excited to see how the offensive line performs against their biggest test, like I said, since August. So it'll be a ton of fun there, and we'll have you covered all week long. So Kevin and I will be back either tomorrow or Thursday. We got to work schedules out for our second show of the week. Then we'll be back Friday for our weekend preview. And then Saturday, Brendan and I will be on site in Indianapolis. I'm sure we'll call in Kevin wherever you'll be. I'm glad you made it back from Hilton Head. You're nice and tan, no sunburn, looking good.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely tanning in the 50-degree weather. Playing piss poor golf all weekend, but you know what? Hey. It was a great time with great people, so no complaints there. And then this weekend, I don't think.
Another wedding?
I think thankfully I don't have anything.
Wow.
I have something Sunday night. The Christmas concert at the Cleveland Orchestra will be Sunday.
Oh,
but
you're a well-rounded man here, dude.
People forget that if you invite me to a nice Italian dinner, I'll sometimes go to the orchestra. But no, it's a nice Christmas tradition we do with my family.
That's
so
cool.
that'll be fun. And yeah, Saturday, I think I gotta go to a bar for a birthday party, but
that's a tough have to, man. That's a tough
it's a rough life. But no, it should be good.
You're saying piss poor golf, dude. Hey, the saying is a bad day of golf beats a good day of anything else. And that is very, very true. But we'll have you covered all week. So make sure you're tapped in here. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. A bunch of good content over on the channel. Go relive some of those Michigan stuff. We have a bunch of good content coming from the weekend. So go check it all out. But we'll be back with you Wednesday. Make sure you're tapped into Buckeye Roundtable. Kevin's over there a bunch. I got a bunch of stories up. So make sure you're following us along there. But for my partner, Kevin Woidke, I'm Anthony Moeglin. We're getting out of here on this one. We'll be back later in the week on Buckeyes Roundtable, so make sure you're locked in with all things Buckeyes here on the Buckeye Breakdown Buckeye Breakdown Show on the Buckeyes Roundtable YouTube channel.